Today we're going to be learning how to crochet this super quick and easy no bunch beanie. This beanie does not have all that extra fabric at the top like most crochet beanies do. This is a beginner friendly tutorial. I will be working through the stitches with you as we use them. And you can make this beanie in any size you need. I will be telling you how to adjust the size as we work. All you're going to need for this project is some worsted weight 4 acrylic yarn, a 5mm hook, a tapestry needle, and a pair of scissors, and we can go ahead and get started. We're going to get started on our hat by making a slip knot. You can make a slip knot by wrapping the yarn around 2 of your fingers and pinching that yarn tail with your thumb. Then I'm taking my pointer finger on my opposite hand and I'm placing that under that first strand of yarn and over the second. Then I'm flipping that second strand of yarn up and I am pulling it tight. Let's do that one more time. I'm wrapping the yarn around my fingers and across, pinching that yarn tail with my thumb, taking my pointer finger on my right hand and I'm putting that under the first strand of yarn and over the second. Then I'm flipping that second strand of yarn up and pulling it tight to make my slip knot. So now we can go ahead and put our hook into our slip knot and pull it tight, and we can get started on our chain. To make our chain, we're going to yarn over and pull that directly through the loop on our hook. Again, yarn over and pull that directly through the loop on the hook to make our chain. Now the chain is going to equal the height of your hat, so you can change this as you like. I'm going to go ahead and chain 45 and I will meet you back here. Okay, I finished my 45 chains and this measures about 12.5 inches long. And again, this is going to be the height of your hat, so if you'd like to alter this, go ahead and do that before we move on to the next step. As you can see, I have enough room here for my hat to be comfortable as well as for me to flip up the brim. To start on row 1, we need to place a half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. As you can see, this is the first chain from the hook and the second chain from the hook is right here. And we're going to make 1 half double crochet by yarning over, inserting the hook into that second chain, yarn over and pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops on your hook, and that makes 1 half double crochet. Again, yarn over, insert your hook into that next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops on the hook. We're going to continue doing that into each chain all the way down until we have 5 chains left. So go ahead and continue making 1 half double crochet into each chain until you have 5 left, and I will meet you back here. I have made it to my last 5 chains here, and into each of the last 5 chains I need to make 1 slip stitch. To make a slip stitch, we're going to insert the hook into that chain, pull up a loop, and pull that directly through the loop on our hook. Again, go into that next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull that directly through the loop on our hook. And we're going to continue that until we reach our very last chain. Okay, this is what your project should be looking like. Okay, so we can go ahead and get started on row 2. Before every row, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work so that we can start working back down in the opposite direction. So the slip stitch end of your project is going to be the top of your hat, and the half double crochet end is going to be the bottom of your hat. And from now on, we're going to be working into the back loop only. As you can see on the top of your work here, there are 2 V's. And we don't want to work into both of those V's. We only want to work into the back loop, which is going to be that one right there. For any one of these stitches, it's going to be this back loop only, just like that. And we are also going to be working a slip stitch into each one of our slip stitches and a half double crochet into each one of our half double crochets. So if you are working over top of a slip stitch, you should be making a slip stitch, and if you are working over top of a half double crochet, you should be making a half double crochet. Okay, let's get started. On row 2, we have made our chain and turned our work. We're going to skip over the chain that we made, and as you can see, I have gone into the back loop of that very first stitch. I'm yarning over and pulling directly through the loop on the hook to make my first slip stitch. We had 5 slip stitches, so we need to make 5 slip stitches at the beginning of this row. I'm going into the back loop of that next stitch to make my next slip stitch. There is 3, 4, and 5. So our next stitch is going to be a half double crochet because the stitch below it is a half double crochet. And again, we're working into the back loop only, so let's yarn over, insert the hook into that back loop, yarn over and pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops on the hook to make your first half double crochet. Again, yarn over, go into that back loop of the next stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we're going to continue making a half double crochet into each stitch until the end of the row, into the back loops only. And I will meet you at the end of the row. Okay, I'm at the end of row 2 now, and make sure that you do not miss this last stitch here. It's really easy to miss. Otherwise, your work is going to get progressively smaller as you add rows. So I'm making that last half double crochet into the back loop of that last stitch. And if you started with 45 chains like I did, you should have 44 stitches in total for your row. And you should have the exact same number of stitches for every single row for row 1, row 2, and going forward. Okay, we're going to get started on row 3. Remember, for every row, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work so that we're working back down in the opposite direction. And for row 3, we're starting on the half double crochet end, which is the bottom of our hat. So we want to start off the row by making half double crochets into the back loops only. So I'm placing my first half double crochet into the first stitch into the back loop only, again skipping over that chain that we made. The chain does not count as a stitch. Just like that. And I'm going to continue making a half double crochet into each stitch in the back loop only until I reach my first slip stitch at the end of the row. As you can see, I'm at the end of row 3 and I have my 5 slip stitches here. So I'm going to make 1 slip stitch into the back loop only on top of each of those 5 slip stitches. And be sure that you do not miss this last one. It's really easy to miss. Be sure to count your stitches for each row to be sure that you're not making too many or too few. So I've chained 1. I'm going to flip my work and get started on row 4. So for row 4 onward, I'm going to be repeating the same process that we have been. I'm placing 1 slip stitch into the back loop only on top of each slip stitch, and 1 half double crochet on top of each half double crochet into the back loop only. Be sure that you are making your chain 1 and turning your work before every row. So go ahead and continue working until you are happy with the width of your hat. This is where you're going to control the size of your hat. So if you need a larger hat, you can add more rows, or if you need a smaller hat, you'll just make less rows. and I will meet you back here when I'm happy with the width of my hat. Okay, I just finished the last row of my hat and I ended up doing 50 rows in total. I'm pretty happy with this size. And I want you to be sure that you end your very last row, my last row is right here, at the bottom of your hat. So this is going to be the half double crochet end. So make sure that your last row, whether you made more or fewer rows than I did, that you're ending at the bottom of your hat because it's going to make our next step a lot easier. So like I said, I ended with 50 rows in total, which measures about 19 inches. And you can fold your hat in half to kind of see what that's going to look like when we get everything sewn together. Okay, we can go ahead and get started on attaching our hat together. And we need to start by attaching these two side edges. And this is why we wanted to end at the bottom of our hat, because we're going to slip stitch all the way up until we reach the top of our hat here. So just pick up where you left off, and we're going to pick up both of those edges there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop of my last row that I made. And then you can see here, this is our very first row, and this is our original chain. So there's only one loop there that we can go into. So we're going to be going into the back loop and that original chain that we made on the opposite edge. And then we're going to make our slip stitch by yarning over, pulling through both of those loops on the hook, and then directly through that loop that we had on the hook, just like that. Again, I'm going into the next stitch, into the back loop only, then into the opposite edge, into that chain, yarning over and pulling through all of those loops to make my slip stitch. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I reach the top of my hat. Alright, I have made it to the top of my hat here, and as you can see, I slip stitched all the way up to the top and attached both of those edges together. And this would be a great time to go ahead and try your hat on if you haven't yet. If you need to undo the slip stitches that you just made to add or remove some rows, that is okay. Go ahead and try your hat on, and then we will continue with the top section. Next, we're going to go ahead and close up the top part of our hat. We need to chain one and cut our yarn, but we want a long yarn tail here, and we're going to use this to sew up the top of our hat. No particular length, you just want enough to be able to sew along that top edge. And I'm just going to pull my hook up and pull that yarn through the chain that I made and pull that tight. Now we're going to take our tapestry needle and attach it to our yarn tail here. Just like that. And we're going to start sewing along this top edge. Just go ahead and insert your hook into that next little loop there. And I'm just going to weave my tapestry needle in and out from the front to the back, like this. And I'm going to do that all the way around until I get back to the beginning. Now we can go ahead and pull on that yarn tail to close up the top of our hat. You're going to want to pull pretty tightly on this. And if you still have a little hole here, what we're going to do is take our tapestry needle and we want to just kind of sew across. This does not need to be perfect. We just want to close up that hole. We're going to sew across the top of that hole a few times in different directions to go ahead and close it up completely. The top of your hat should end up looking something like this. And finally, I'm going to cut that yarn tail. And I have a yarn tail here, so I'm going to go ahead and tie those together to secure them. And to weave those in, I'm going to go ahead and take my hook and pull those yarn tails down into my hat from the top. So I can go ahead and hide them. If you have any other yarn tails on your hat, for example down here, go ahead and weave those in. All you have to do now is flip up the brim, go ahead and put it on, and you have the perfect crochet beanie without all of the extra fabric at the top. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I loved walking you through it. Let me know what you'd like to see next and subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you guys in the next one.